What's going on? Back at Dave the Confused. I'm Dave, still confused, and we're back into the horror movies. One of the best parts about horror movies is you never know how they're going to end. 9 times out of 10, you kind of predict to yourself while watching, like, okay, this guy's probably not going to make it. This girl's probably not going to make it. This girl's going to make it to the end. You know, this person's going to be the killer. You always kind of go over in your mind how you think these movies are going to end, and then sometimes, like a Mack truck, boom, not the ending you were expecting. And that's why I love scary movies, is the unpredictability to them. I don't even know if I said that word right. I'm just so excited about this video. And I'm going to talk about some of my favorite movie twist endings here that really like just kind of blew my mind and really like made me want to watch the next one in the trilogy or in the universe, and just kind of like push me in the right direction of, like, you know, the thought process I should be going into the next horror movie I watch. And I love just being proven wrong sometimes. Like, there's so many times as somebody who watches as many movies as me where I look into like the later parts of the movie and I'm like, oh, like I know this is going to happen. I know what's going to happen here. And when I'm proven wrong, it makes me like that movie even more. Massive spoiler alert here because, you know, myself and Jess, who's also in this video, you're welcome. We're talking about the endings of videos here. So please know, massive spoiler alert. Still go watch these movies because they're all really good. But just know, big spoiler alert. So I kind of went in deep into the catalog of movies that I haven't seen to try to get the best ones for this. And I think I did a pretty good job. I'm not tooting my own horn here, but bring, bring. That's not the noise of a horn at all. Okay, the first one I want to talk about, because I just like kind of went on my computer and made notes for it and everything, because it's so convoluted, but like I want to talk about it so bad. The Nun, which is in the Conjuring universe, right? And it's set like, I think like 20 something years or 25 years before the first Conjuring movie, right? And you don't know that at all because it's been so long since the first one came out to when The Nun came out that your brain just doesn't process that this is even in the same universe until it's smack dab in your face. So the story goes that there is like this ancient castle that nuns have been staying at, you know, like a nunnery or whatever it's called. I don't know. And it's haunted, and it's haunted by a demon named Valak that you have seen so far. If you've seen the Conjuring movies, that's known as the Black Nun, the Dark Nun, is a demon named Valak. And this demon is basically killing people and running nuns out of this castle, and it's essentially trying to get a human host in order to bring itself into this world. And what you see at the beginning of the movie is a nun commit suicide in order to get away from the demon. Now you think this nun did it out of fear. That's the initial, you know, statement that it gives out. But essentially what you learn later is that the nun sacrificed herself not to be possessed by Valak. Now, it's a priest and a nun get the aid from a French Canadian who lives in the area to go and basically solve the crimes of why these nuns are killing themselves. And they come across Valak. And it ends with the nun having literally like a glass ball filled with blood that is known as the last remaining sample of the actual blood of Jesus Christ. And she ends up like spitting it onto Valak, who like disintegrates and dies. And so you're like, that's it. The demon's gone. Good has won. And everything's cool. Until you realize that somewhere along the way, and I'm not going to say when in the movie because I really want you to watch it, but Valak puts her essence into the French Canadian of Maurice. And as he's leaving, he rubs his neck showing that there's an upside down cross, the sign of the demons, on the back of his neck. That's the twist, right? Fast forward to The Conjuring, the first movie, which is set, I don't know, 25 years later, and it's the main character showing a video of them doing an exorcism on a guy named Maurice. That was the French Canadian from the Nun movie. And he's now possessed by Valak, who at the end of The Conjuring 2, I believe, is like the main bad guy that they've been fighting through all these movies. And it shows you the connection from The Nun through Annabelle and blah, 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 all the way to Conjuring 2. So I love that twist that they did in that movie. It was just so good, and I didn't even realize that it was the French Canadian guy until it was like literally thrown in my face. And I just like, that's what I mean, was so good about this movie. I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite movies in the Conjuring universe. I cannot express enough why you should go see this movie. Okay, and I know you're here to see Jess, so I'm gonna let you see Jess. Here she is letting me know her favorite twist endings in scary movies.
Hey guys, it's Jessii Vee, and thank you Dave for having me back on your channel. I love it here. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about some very surprising and strange twist endings in horror movies. Now, there are so many twist endings. I have a whole list here, so I'm probably going to pick from like 3 or 4 of them. The first one that I thought about was actually the movie called The Boy, which I know a lot of people like hate it or love it. It's kind of one of those movies where it's just a mix. I actually kind of liked this movie, and I think the twist was really unexpected when I was watching it. So it's about this family. They have this little doll in their house, and they think it's causing a ton of paranormal activity. They hear noises in the walls all over the house, and at the very end of the movie, spoiler alert, they find out it's not anything paranormal. It's not the doll. It's actually a living person living in the walls of their house, which was a horrifying twist. I mean, I feel like a real person hiding in your house is actually scarier than having like paranormal ghost activity. Anybody else? Comment down below if you would prefer paranormal activity or someone actually sneaking around living in your home, because I don't want that one. I feel like I can handle ghosts. I can't handle real creepy people. This next one is very obvious. It's The Sixth Sense. Now, I watched this movie when I was very, very young. My parents showed it to me, and it was one of my first horror movies that I've ever watched. It's definitely very overwhelming for a little kid to see. It's about this man who is counseling this boy who claims to see dead people, and he sees a lot of very scary ghosts. He helps a lot of ghosts sort of move on from their lives. Some of them have very unfinished business. The man helping this boy is Bruce Willis, and at the very end of the film, he realizes that he himself is the dead person. He's actually a ghost the whole entire time, and this little boy has been seeing his ghost, and he never realized it. And it's definitely one of those classic twist ending horror movies, and yeah, I love it. Such a good movie. All right, then we have the movie Orphan, and actually I've seen this movie so many times. Ty and I just watched this movie like a month ago as well. I'm constantly watching horror movies like every single week. But this is about a couple, and they want to go and adopt a child, so they go over to the orphanage. They're meeting all these kids, and they're not really connecting with anyone, and finally they see this girl, and she's very into painting, she's very creative, and they find her very intriguing, so they decide that they want to adopt her. They take her home, and a lot of strange things starts happening. Their kids are afraid of her. She starts getting into trouble. People around her start getting hurt, and it all comes back to this one child that they adopted. Well, the twist at the end of the movie is that the whole time they thought she was like this 12-year-old kid, but instead she was like a full-grown old adult woman who was disguising herself as a kid, and she's actually this killer who like wreaks havoc on their life. And there's this one scene where she's looking in the mirror, and she like takes off her like little kid makeup, and you can see all her wrinkles, and like, ugh. It's the weirdest movie, and it still gives me shivers every single time that I watch it. it. Then you have the movie The Others, which is actually very similar to The Sixth Sense, and when I first watched this movie, I was very surprised by the twist. It's about this family who are living in a house and they feel like they're being haunted by ghosts, and the whole entire movie shows them being haunted and being afraid of the spirits in their house. And then by the very end of the movie, you actually realize that the whole entire family is dead and they are actually the ghosts inside the house. And it's so crazy to see that like flip-flop twist because you wouldn't expect it. And yeah, those two movies, The Others and The Sixth Sense, just did a great job of fooling the audience the entire time. Love those movies. But yeah, those are the 4 that I wanted to mention. I'm excited to hear what Dave has to say about his. But thank you once again for having me on this channel. And yeah, hope you guys have a good day. Bye!
Thank you so much, Jess. I love doing collabs with you. If you haven't already gone to Jess's channel, which I'm sure all of you have, please go check out her channel all the time. She's always putting up new videos. Go check out her channel. All of her links will be in the description below. So the next one I want to talk about is the movie Us, which is directed by Jordan Peele from Key & Peele. For a dude that spent so much time doing like comedy, he is such an incredible horror movie director and writer and everything. Like it's so incredible, the 2 movies that he's done thus far and the movies that he's planning to do. Like he's one of my favorite directors, bar none. He's one of the best. And this movie is about a family that's on vacation in like a summer home, and they get basically like taken hostage by what it looks to be clones of themselves. And you're like, what is happening here? Like they're like clones of themselves, but they're like a darker version of them. They're like the evil doppelganger of them. And you're like, how is this like happening? I don't understand how this is even happening, right? And they basically go through the entire movie fighting off this family. And then you see that everybody has a doppelganger. Everybody has an evil clone that's coming to kill them. And they're called the Tethered. And you learn that there was like an underground government-owned like human factory, and they learned how to clone people. And they were essentially like, the plan was that they were going to replace everybody, and they abandoned the plan despite having hundreds, maybe thousands of clones made already. But they started to see that they weren't right and that they were evil, and so these clones were hidden underground and just forgotten about. Well, one of the clones was like, nope, I'm not having this, and basically trained all the other clones to eventually have a day where they rise up and go up to the surface and take over. And what they were going to do was they were going to hold hands across like the world. They were going to hold hands and let everybody be known that they're here. The craziest part is, at the end of the movie, you find out that the mom of the family, the main character of the movie, was the clone, not the real person the entire time. And when she was a little girl, as a clone, she kidnapped her real self, brought her down, and switched places with her. And she's been the evil clone the whole time, and has acted like a normal, regular person, despite knowing that the clone, like, life exists below, and said nothing. Like, betrayed her entire clone race. Then, even twist on that nobody really understands this part of it. The son, her little son, realizes at the end of the movie she's been the clone the whole time, and accepts it and is like, cool, deuces, like, we're good, like, no problem, we're good. And it's like, what does that mean? Is he like a clone? Like he's just like, yeah, like, he just keeps it to himself and they just go off as a family again. And it ends with all the clones that survived ended up killing their, like, you know, counterparts, holding hands across the nation. It's crazy. It's got such a crazy twist that it's mind-blowing. So this has been the video for the craziest twist endings. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Jess, for doing this video with me. Please leave your best twist ending from any movie in the comments below. And if you have another idea of a movie you want to see, or you have a scary story you want to tell me, leave it in the comments below. And yeah, if you're like, oh, Dave, where'd you get that super cool shirt? Yeah, teespring.com, Confused Army Store, Dave the Confused merch in the store tab on this YouTube channel. Go check it out. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Dave, still confused, and at least our dogs aren't werewolves.